here in 41. Still no war. And again, I think that's very, very likely in this game with people who don't know what they're really doing. Because it's very, very difficult. You have to engineer the war. You really do. You have to engineer it on your own terms. But even if you know what you're doing, sometimes it gets delayed longer than you expect. So like, I was in this kind of situation with the US where I failed to get a war. Part of it was, in the game I played opposed, part of it was, I forgot status quo went away. And nobody else noted it, and we played too long to get around to that. Little issues that crop up that cause you not to resolve things. But part of it was simply, you know, the luck of the draw. After I did figure it out and tried to arrange the war properly and had the pieces to do so, they still didn't come out right, and I wasn't able to trigger things quite the way I wanted to, so I actually lost a turn that way. I'm not sure what happened here. I feel like this was more, I'm not positive what happened. I feel like this was more Germany's mistakes. Anyway, players have grabbed their income in terms of resources. The French grabbed the Yugoslav chit. Why? Well, that way they can bury an offensive or whatever, but the more in the cup. But the more important thing is they got the chit out of Yugoslavia. They're afraid that's not going to be able to last, and they don't want somebody else taking advantage of it. They don't have this garrisoned, so Italy could go attack Yugoslavia or something. We really don't want to see that happen. And the other person who pulled a special chit, Japanese pulled one out, not for the same reason at all, but because, honestly, they don't have enough resources to get themselves the offensive that they need. Germany's in a similar situation. They don't have very many chits. They need to put an offensive in the cup, at least one, maybe two. Unfortunately, the Ruhr bonus offensive, I mean, I can spend that to get an offensive when I go to war, but I have so few resources, I'm afraid to do so. And I'm certainly not willing to make that choice right now. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I could definitely use a resource there. And now I figure out what I'm buying and where it goes. Well, let's hope I've got everything set up correctly. I highly doubt it. Mainly in the amount of offensives that I have for the people who do want to go belligerent here. I don't think I do. The Germans only managed to put one in the cup. It might be a good reason to kick that Ruhr unit out and grab an offensive for it. But it's just so hard, and I'm not absolutely certain. They're beginning to question attacking France. It's so well defended. Of course, we've put so much commitment into getting to Spain, but we can get those troops out of there and facing the Soviets very quickly if we need to. We hit the sort of beginning of the turn trumpings. Well, Germany's going to throw the first one. They believe they need to get an armored unit. And we're going to keep that facing France. We still intend to hit France. We just don't know if it's going to be possible. Brits have the next option towards one with a flag. They're passing. They're looking to ally with the French. The French, for some reason, decided to build more tanks instead. Maybe we'll ally with the US. I don't know. Actually, maybe we'll... No, the US isn't at mobilization, so we can't pull them into a war that we start. And bringing them in against Germany doesn't seem terribly valuable right now. And the US hasn't done Lend-Lease yet. Okay, so for the Russians, do they want to use their flag for something? They sure do. They have a stability check they want to improve while they're still in political. They don't suffer any minuses, and they succeed and get their stability up. Okay, US, yep. They're going to try to end Lend-Lease, or start Lend-Lease. They're still just 2 dice, but now they're at +1 instead of -1. And they gain more cubes. Okay, well that's wonderful. Il Duce needs to mobilize so that he can join an offensive war if need be. I wonder if I forgot to put one in for Japan. Doesn't seem like they did anything. Oh well. We already did the propaganda. Okay. So we're trying to mobilize. I hate doing it this early in the turn, but it's not like it was successful anyway. And we get that into the increased commitment box. The French tank, well, for whatever reason they chose to take it, so we will upgrade our armor here in Lorraine. And boy, do the French look dangerous. They just look dangerous. I mean, they've got a bigger army than Germany has in Germany. They have about the same army the Germans have overall. Everybody's done what they wanted to, so we pull a check. And we get the U.S. home front. The U.S. home front is potentially a problem. Is that the U.S. under there? Oh shit, Italy needs to increase their stability. I can't get anywhere. U.S. home front's fine. Yeah, Italy should have increased their stability. They get a tank improvement. Put that in the west. Need tanks in the Pacific. French home front. French have a -1, so they lose a stability. They're up to mobilization. Ooh, keep going. The U.S. offensive, which I don't believe I can use still. It's 1-to-1. I can put it somewhere, but there's no civil wars that I can activate, and I can't just go off on military adventurism. I didn't stow a resource this time. I've got so little unless I can get up to mobilization. But we do get a carrier fleet. Maybe the Japanese should be focusing on taking the U.S. out. It's dangerous. It gets them in the war, man. They have a hard time getting into the war. Okay, let's see if Italy just surrenders. They could well collapse. Yep, they fall into collapse. And what you're seeing is the effects of massive mismanagement. Nobody did this badly in the opposed game, but the problem is, here in the solo game, I'm walking away. It's a lot harder to focus on where those chits are, where everything is. So, it's a much, much harder game to pay attention to what's going on. Okay. First thing when you hit collapse is, did you surrender? Well, we start with a 0. There are no cubes in them. They have victory points. They're not exhausted, so they cannot collapse. Or they cannot surrender. So instead they collapse. Each enemy, they have no enemies. Enemies are people they're at war with. Their stability tests that remain will be canceled here. They go back up to wavering. Hey, that's good. It's kind of like La Grande Guerre in terms of how it handled, but much, much simpler. But harder to pay attention to for me. It now goes down to exhaustion. No, we didn't make it to mobilization. Excellent. So we don't just lose the game there. Okay. If they have a reserve, it goes back to the status card. They make an effectiveness check for each area containing cubes, but none of its land units. There are a couple of places that this applies to. Albania. Oh, Rome! Okay, let's start with Albania. All right, that's a victory point gone. Austria. Austria we get to keep control of. And Rome. Rome has no ground troops. That cube goes away. This is sort of our bonus Abyssinian forces since we couldn't defend Rome. So Italy loses 2 victory points, as do the fascists. Not a great result. The power's allies must conduct a stability test. Germany is an ally. They could end up collapsing from this. And they do. This is a problem because Germany's going to lose the Knight of the Long Knives, which was one of my goals in the game that I was playing. And the Italian-German alliance is broken. If I was at war with anyone, I would have to offer an armistice. Germany goes through the collapse procedure. Germany has victory points, and no problem, so they're not going to collapse on their own, or they're not going to surrender on their own, but they go through the collapse process. They have no enemies. Their stability goes back up to wavering. There is no marker for Knight of the Long Knives, you just have to remember that. If they had a reserve, it would go back. Everybody luckily moved theirs. Their power cubes are removed. Oh, their power cubes are removed from the failed boxes. Okay. I didn't see that one. Okay. An effectiveness check for each area without troops. That looks like it's Sweden. Spain has ground units in it. We get to hold on to Sweden. Has no allies left, no armistice. That's that. Italy gets to do a reorg. Kind of doesn't matter, but let's make sure we don't lose Austria. Let's go garrison it. We're not going to be hitting Spain, France anytime soon, and kind of out of letting the pigs into the barn. Well, I don't know, something like that. Let's draw another chip. It's crisis time. (3-1), that sounds like a civil war. 6-3, that's Spain. Now Spain is garrisoned. I believe that means a civil war can't happen there. Let's go to our number. Yeah, so the civil war is suppressed and there's no effect. And we're going to pause there for a bit. That puts, just show the Brits can trump in if they need to. Been a good day so far. I did some yard work and I've been injured for a while. I'm not able to do much. My back, hip, all that's been hurting. Well, the yard work hurt a lot more. And I also hurt my knee. All the pain I was in helped me to cut a coax cable for my internet. I got one in the front of the house, way out there, but it means that things are in kind of chaos. I've got a wire draped across the living room and all kind of crazy stuff. And trying to decide if I want to try to fix it myself or pay more money for someone else, and worse, have to deal with someone else. That's really the biggest problem, not the cash ever. I mean, I don't know how much it's going to be, but you know, it's not cheap to get the tools either. Anyway, where are we? So we had a crisis pick. Oh, one more thing before. Bridger pointed out to me I screwed something up. He's been watching these, and that's fantastic. I love having somebody who's, you know, more up on the game, and he's really watching them, and is really up on the game. He's been playing it a lot. I'm sure his videos have that sort of touch of the person who really loves the game and is totally into it and can devote a lot more effort than I can usually devote to a game, which is exactly what every game needs, and this one more than most. But anyway, what he pointed out to me was this fortress that I bought for the French. I ended up paying 2 for it. I didn't have to. Fortresses only cost 1. They just have a turn delay, like navies do, but they cost the same as regular units. And that makes, I guess, a vague sort of sense, although Maginot was exceedingly expensive. Like, as expensive as creating an armored army would be. So, I don't know. But anyway, which is why probably I made that mistake in addition to the Navy issue. But if you look in the charts or in the rule book, it's obvious. It's just in my mind, I didn't see it right away. Or it's stuck differently. Russians get to build some more tanks. Pretty soon we're going to have tanks over here in Siberia, which is fine. They have more sturdiness. The Brits do not want to trump in. They're waiting for a French flag, which is in the cup. A French offensive. Oh, crap. I don't know what to do with a French offensive. It gives me 2 production. So I'll put a tank in the pool. Do I want to steady the tank? I might as well put the tank there. I'll get it more quickly that way. Although it could cause some issues. We get a British plane upgrade. Where do I want my strategic bomber? Let's put it in the most flexible location I can. Not exactly the most useful location in the near future, but I think it is actually wise. Now we get a French offensive where I do have to think. There's not much I can do with an offensive, is there? I can't aid someone. I can't go attack a neutral because I'm not belligerent yet. I cannot attack anyone without a declaration of war. I could do a redeploy. That's about it. Am I happy with my deployment? It's not bad. All right. We'll just take that as a pass. And I still can't play the French tank because the last counter. Okay, the Ruskies. The Ruskies get only 2 dice at -1. A status check. Hey, they actually succeed. Good thing they weren't all the way at total war. France is going to build their tank. Now that's the end of their armor. They probably have some more infantry in here if they choose to build it, but that seems highly unlikely. Civil War resolution. All right, that's going to be the Chinese Civil War. And that's going to consist of, let's see, only the communists get to expand their bigger. They're going to try to go into Chahar again. And they still don't succeed. A British flag. Jeez. Oh, I don't know what to do with a British flag. I guess I can improve stability. That's always a good choice. I could pressure France. They don't have a flag though. I could pressure the US. Okay, only 3 dice for the Brits now because they are mobilized. Oh, this is why I didn't want to do that. Oops. Propaganda. Well, that was an error. Always making errors in this game. Still no war. Little Entente. Powers with a cube in Czechoslovakia, Romania, Yugoslavia. Czechoslovakia is safe. Yugoslavia is the only one we got a problem in. The French could lose it. Russians are garrisoning Romania for good reason. And the French lose, I think, their last victory point. That makes them more eligible to surrender. And that takes another democracy victory point away. Part of the problem is, if I was looking everything up, which I did in some of the first plays, really, or almost everything, I would probably get more of the rules right, and not make quite as many mistakes as I make. But on the other hand, I don't want to play that way, right? And, yeah, you know, it sucks that you have to watch it, but you don't, actually. British offensive. Ugh. We could throw more upgrades to the air into play. Other than that, I don't know that there's anything we terribly want to do. So we'll throw that in the cup. And that French Alliance cube is kind of useless there. And we get a British tank upgrade. I guess we'll take this one in London. Husky infantry. We got so many troops in so many places. We still want to invade the Germans. We'll put it down in Romania. Way the tank army can maybe move somewhere else. I don't know. Russian planes. Now I could be setting things up to deal with the Japanese, but I really want to go against Germany. I feel like that's where my power base is. Why am I in Leningrad with that tank? Oh, I'm afraid of a naval invasion. Okay. Another British. Oh, no, this is an Italian offensive. Italians aren't mobilized, so they can't do anything too exciting with it. What do we want to do with an offensive? We could go grab something. That would trigger people. That's not necessarily what we want to do. Marching into Yugoslavia, though. What about that? That would trigger Russia. The Czechs don't have troops. Boy, that, you know, how do the Germans feel about, you know, Italian forces up in Czechoslovakia? But at least there's a resource marker there. On the other hand, what else could we? Yugoslavia is another possible hit. Yeah, let's go for Yugoslavia. We are going to send both of our units in. No, we only get one activity out of this. We only get one action, so we can only send that in, and we'll send an air unit in. And we'll try to figure out what we got here. Air power gives me an extra die. The defenses only have one die, but it's at +1 essentially. And I don't have an extra, I only get one action off my offensive, so I don't get an extra pip there. I get 2-1 though. There is an enemy army, so I get a triumph, which lets me get Il Duce, which I'd love to play right now. I get a cube, which gives me a fascist victory point. I don't know why we count the individual nations. I can always count them at the end of the game if that's important, or make it a quick determination. But that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I see 8 on the board. What am I not counting? I'm not counting the Swedish, probably. Right? No. 3. Oh, I'm not counting Spain. Yeah. Oh, jeez. Italy cannot play another chip, but what they can do is they can pull back. Well, with the Russians there, we could actually redeploy to face Russia, which would be of some potential value. We don't have an alliance with the Germans, though, so I don't know how much any of it matters. The Germans are so set up for France, but we feel like Russia is our problem at this point. So we'll stay deployed to face Russia. Get a U.S. offensive. What the hell can I do with a U.S. offensive? Well, I can't build either of those. I could redeploy, but there's not much I can redeploy. Yeah, I'm kind of at a loss here. Guess I'll just punt it. The French flag, finally. We're going to try for the alliance with Britain. Unfortunately, we threw away the British cube. And now we get a British cube and another French cube. Again, it's highly unlikely that 2 French cubes is going to mean a damn thing. But whatever. Oh. I forgot to provoke Russia. Oh, they will take their flag here. What do they want to do with it? Do they want to declare war? I don't know. How many offensives do I have sitting around? 3, 4, 5. I should have 2 offensives in the cup. I could do a surprise attack on the Axis, which might not be a bad idea. And I don't think that would actually piss anyone off except the Germans. It would really piss them off, but I could declare war and launch my attack right now. Because I did just draw the flag. Oh, I know what I want to do with it. Oh, Jesus. I drew the home front marker again and didn't do it. Damn it. Oh, well. Let's try to move that. And we fail. We had a propaganda here for some reason. This was to what? I don't remember. It's to do something. Oh, it's a special. And the U.S. still doesn't have Lend-Lease out. Here's the Russian offensive. All right, we'll start, because we can't just throw it away. We'll start, and we have 2 counters for our offensive. We are going to march into Italy or Germany. Germany looks easier to take overall. So we're going to march into Germany. Berlin's open. We'll just use one of our offensives to go in there. We'll send 2 tank armies, 2 airplanes. Why so much? I don't know. All right, we just poked Germany. I got to see what that does. I can't use it for that. Turns out only the fascists can do the surprise attack. I thought the Soviets could do a surprise attack. Kind of fits their, expansionism movement and everything. But it doesn't really fit their willingness to take on major powers. So it kind of makes sense there. So, what do? Well, we throw a tank here. And I screwed up. I only have 3 flags. I used my 1 flag and didn't declare war because I thought I could do this. It's the kind of, you got to remember so much shit in this game. So many little things. A British offensive that God knows what I can do with it. More tank upgrades. Sure. Put that here. The Russians will upgrade their tank. This one looks more likely to be used as a tank. Brits will upgrade the tank. Doop. They can't upgrade the American tanks. It would be kind of cool if you could give support to your allies in that way. To some extent that did happen, but not very much. Crisis. Who had the fun? I think that would be the Brits did the last thing. And you can see how easy it is to screw something up and not be able to get your war off the way you thought you could. If you forget a rule, if you miscount, if you get taken away with, oh, I got to do my stability or something like that. That. Didn't want to go to war without it. I think that's 2 turns in a row I've screwed it up that way. Double 5s. Public support. Each democratic power performs an effectiveness check, gaining a flag if successful. So let's start with the Brits. Oh, yay. I'm going to make a decision on whether to reserve them after I see what happens. The Americans get one. And finally, the lowly French. The French do not. Okay. Well, the U.S. definitely wants to reserve its flag. The Brits probably want to reserve theirs, too. Oh, that puts us to sudden death, too. I can't think of a reason not to. That was a crisis, so Britain could do something with its flag. All right, let's count our flags. We need to leave that one out in case the French draw one. So we'll let the U.S. try to do Lend-Lease again. They're +2 on the die roll now. Oh, yay, they succeed. All right, and that brings Lend-Lease into play. It doesn't really do much, except that it does open us up to make alliances, which is kind of cool. Il Duce. What the hell? Yeah, we wanna mobilize. I guess. I mean, maybe we want to improve our situation, but we feel like we want to mobilize, and that may cause fallout that gets us Il Duce back. Okay. And that gives us 2 dice instead of 1, and it's successful. So things will happen, like a French and British flag. The French will put their flag here to ensure they get it. And I've got to do my mobilization up to mobilization. So we took an armor upgrade in this, not take the tank upgrade, or the air upgrade. We're really thinking the Russians are the problem. And we get an offensive, which, do we want to store or not? We do not want to store it. Because we're not allied with Germany yet. Japanese get their home front. And they succeed at -1. Nobody's at total war yet. I don't think I can get there without a war starting, but oh, the Brits and the French. They're going to try to ally. One French cube at +1. They can count the French and British there. Yay, we manage it. That is going to provoke people, though. That will provoke Italy and Germany, who, ho-ho, have their own interest in immediately rolling for an alliance. We'll use Il Duce. And we succeed as well. Yeah, we're not allied. That means, oh, Russia's not actually at war with Germany. They set these in play, but they're not. That means this happens, and that provokes France and Britain, who will, of course, score their flags up here. Wow. It's a serious armed camp, but it ain't war yet. In this weird sort of game of chicken in Europe, where only Russia actually wants the war to start at this point in some ways. Now, the Allies absolutely need something to break loose, but they can see Russia wants this to start at this particular moment. If Germany shifts their forces to face Russia, things may change. You know, even if it's just invading and taking Spain or something, things may change. But with the alliances in play, I don't feel like I can get much gain from any of the attacks. Yeah, I can take Libya. Ooh. What else could I take? I don't know, you know. If Germany has to shift to face Russia, then things change. But if that's not happening, I don't see too much that I'm going to be able to gain by bringing it to a war. And I may be opening things up so Russia has better opportunities after, you know, after sort of a bit of stalemate over here. Over in the Pacific, the Brits aren't really engaged over there at all. The French obviously are not. The U.S. wants to start a war there, but they don't really know how. Their limitation had been Lend-Lease to get them to the alliance. I think they could have started the war without the alliance. I'm not sure. Yeah, so the Lend-Lease doesn't say. Oh, yeah, it does. It says they can't join an alliance, but they can, I assume, just go declare war on Japan, which they may want to just do. In my prior game, that was very effective. But they don't have a flag right now. So that's fine. So I think we're kind of stuck with nobody wanting to do anything at all. The Brits are more likely to be able to declare war. So, and why do they have a propaganda cube? Given that they just did an alliance. And what the hell is the Russian cube? The Russian cube's for moving that. We get a fourth crisis. I don't think it's not going to go. We got 3 British. I think that's British. It says butter on it. We got 3 Germans. Yeah. So we got plenty of things to put in the cup, including the crisis thing. If we don't put that in, we get all the chips, and that would not go well. Get a British offensive. God knows. 3, 6, 7. No, this is an Italian offensive. Sorry, my lighting says I can't read. Well, I don't know what the hell to do with an Italian offensive either. We could give more flags to the Russians. That doesn't sound wise. We could go retake Albania or Greece. Greece would piss the English off. Albania wouldn't piss anyone off. Why don't we go into Albania? We have 2 operations. We could do both. We'd have an extra die. Let's do 2 operations on it. So we send the troops in, we send the plane in. We use the bonus operation to give us a +1 to the dice. Albania, we'll say they're allied with the West. They only get 1 die, but they're a +1 as well. And the Italians get a 5 to a 2. That's 2-1. It's no triumph because there's no army there. And then we'll redeploy back to Yugoslavia and grab ourselves a victory point. The reason this is vaguely important is victory points are how you maybe win the game if it lasts long enough to where you're scoring victory points. So outside of that, it doesn't mean much. But if the game just keeps going and the Allies have to wear the Axis powers down, every cube's going to matter. So it does make some importance to grab those. That didn't provoke anybody, didn't do anything. We got a British flag. What do we do with a British flag? Can we reach Russia? Yeah, we don't want to go to war with Russia. We can't do an invasion for a declaration of war. I just don't see too much to do besides diplomacy. Now, the interesting diplomacy is Denmark. So let's do Denmark. Oh, no. Let's improve our damn problem. All the, gee, that would be interesting type things get in your way, and you forget that, yeah, I actually have something I need to do. Britain and France can't do their pick yet. Britain gets an airplane upgrade. Well, we're going to have all our upgrades in play. Put one here, I guess. It'll help us patrol the oceans if need be. Home front, British. -1. 2. Sends us down. And we are allowed at this point to redeploy. I don't really need this extra plane. Not yet. It doesn't look like things are starting with Japan anytime soon. I'd like to get my Navy there, but there isn't that much of a German Navy. So why don't we think about what we can get down there? See, there's 2 German navies there. That's the problem. But I think we can drop an Air Force carrier down here. Outside of that, let's stand steady. Other than that, hey, nobody can flag. A U.S. carrier. A Russian offensive. I could attack something. Do Finland and Sweden connect? They do. That's interesting. More importantly, Czechoslovakia is of interest. Why don't we go into Czechoslovakia? And we'll bonus ourselves rather than do 2 operations. We got a minus to the military. That's one reason for doing that. So we get 3 dice because of the air support. The Czechs get 1 die. And the Czechs are at a net of +1. The Russians are plus and -1. So we get a 3 across the board, which means both sides take a loss. Well, it has to be the Russian army. And unfortunately, that means there's no Russian army there. So that was a failure. Well, that was effective. That means Britain or France can try to do something. How big's the chip cup? There isn't much left in it. Brits are going to try to improve their stability again. That low stability is ugly. And this time we're at +1. 4! We get another cube. Bonus. All right. It's a French flag. The French will attempt to improve their stability, I guess. It's the crisis. There are a lot of German counters in there. They're all German counters in there. German home front. I should only be rolling 2 dice for the Germans, because... No. Knight of the Long Knives just gives them an extra flag. Okay. They get to keep their effectiveness at mobilization. It goes down when they go to the full war. But I'm rolling home front here. We do not survive it, because we are mobilized. But now we get to redeploy. And it looks to me like we're probably not going to be sticking so many troops in Spain. I think we'll keep an infantry there, though. France wants to fire their flag off. I pulled from the chit cup, but I wanted to do this first. But then the German chit flag comes out. German flag, we want to improve our stability. Actually put the crisis as well. There's the crisis again, still enough German shits in there. I hope they're all German, who knows? You know, they look up. So we keep going. The German offensive. Well, we sure the hell don't want to start a war somewhere. Denmark would help protect us from an Allied invasion. Portugal might as well, but we are going to take the bonus, I think, and drive into Denmark. We only get 2 dice. But the Danes get 1 die at -1 because of the armor going into the lowlands. And we're taking a +1, I guess, because we don't want to lose our tank. And we get a huge victory. We redeploy back. That will provoke people. It didn't matter whether I won or not. But it does get me another victory point for the fascists. And the Germans get a victory point again. And that provokes England. France, I think, because this is all North Sea. It's hard to tell with those stupid blue lines in there. Wow. And Russia. Wow. Talk about pissing everybody off. Well, the Russians could declare war, but this is a horrible time to do that. The French have to drop theirs in the cup. The Germans just did something. The Brits have the first option to do something. They're going to try to fix their stability. +2 now. Maybe we're back up to wavering. Okay. Now the Russians could do something. They do not want to declare war. They forgot to do their shit in their home front. Well, we'll try it again. We're +1 on it. We succeed this time. And we move Stalin into military reforms. And that means the French could do something. Do they want to use their chip? French need stability, sure, before the turn runs out. Of course, that's a flag they would have at the beginning of next turn. More cubes. How about that? And we're back to the Germans. German airplane. German airplane would have been very, very helpful last turn. Let's drop it in the rear. That looks less likely to fall than anything else, and it helps defend Silesia. Yeah, it helps defend Silesia and Berlin. You can see the board's a little small. I'm glad that there are counters in this. One thing that I compare this to is the hideousness of moral conflict there in some ways, just in terms of like, this is so much of a better game, but that is just a mess. But instead of, counters that look like military units, they've got like beads and crap all over the place, and it just is really, it's like, let's try to make this look like diplomacy. It's kind of an Axis and Allies type combat system. This isn't that different in some ways. It's more subtle and requires more thinking. It is a crisis. That's going to end things because there's only 2 flags in the chip cup. And they are different countries. But 2 counters is going to do it. Nothing exciting happens because there's no chits left at the end of the turn. So these will all be going in the cup. And that's the end of the 42 turn. And we've still done nothing. Nothing at all. Yeah, I mean, this turn really felt frozen. The Japanese failed to do anything whatsoever. Maybe it would have helped if I put their production chits in the cup. Holy shit. Yeah. Wow. They're separated. It's easy. Holy crap. Yeah. So this game is becoming at the point where it's kind of meaningless. I'm still going to play now. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep that offensive there. We'll say that came out of the chip cup. But I'm going to give them their air upgrade, their naval upgrade, and a flag for their stability. I know it does not make up for them being able to actually do things during the turn, but their stability is low, so... And this time they succeed. No wonder! Yeah. I don't know any way to make this up to them. But the game is definitely becoming more and more suspect in terms of what value it might possibly achieve. That is a huge hit. Japan had some plans to do something or another. I can't remember what. I think it was to grab this so that then, no, because they can't fucking deploy there without voiding the naval treaty. They don't want to do that because the U.S. production hasn't moved up to their level, which means the U.S. could concentrate on navies, which they probably want to, and cause a lot of pain to Japan. So that's a definite facet going against them. Now, what could they have possibly done? Yeah, I mean, I could go conquer this, but I couldn't deploy there is the problem. And if I can't deploy there, I can't invade Java. And all I'd be doing is pissing France and the US off for no apparent reason. And what about the Brits? What happened to Hong Kong? Yeah. I think that doesn't piss the Brits off, though, because Hong Kong is, it's a base. It doesn't project influence. It doesn't project interest out. So I don't know, because I'm not sure that the Japanese had any great plan in mind. They probably would have taken this with the offensive. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the naval treaty says. I never had to deal with it. They may not add fleets. They may not deploy or attack areas. Nope. Nope, they can't attack either. So, unless they were going to avoid the naval treaty, there isn't a whole lot for them to do. They can try to dip Japan at Java and gain it that way. It's not terribly useful, so probably their best move is to try to push in deeper into China. Pushing into China is kind of a fool's errand. Yeah, you can get a lot of cubes there, and maybe enough to hold you the win, but it's hard. Germany and Italy have to survive too. So, and there's a Russian beast that could come in and do you some serious harm. So, for example, if you wiped out the Civil War as a whole and broke China into the warlords or something, that'd be hard. But it wouldn't be too hard to knock out the nationalists, but then there's communists everywhere, right? All right, well, we'll send this one up, and maybe we'll end up quitting before the war ends, or before the war begins, just because we have messed this up in a terrible way. Now, it is possible that what we saw here happened, but the problem is that I have not been capable of making my plans that are necessary to do what I want to do. And maybe there's not a good to do what I want to do here. I mean, I could break the naval treaty. And here's one thing. I can break the naval treaty late and try to grab a lot of stuff. Surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, man, that's a lot of force to face. That's more than I'd want to face. But on the other hand, the U.S. is going to come in so powerfully when they do that, in a sense, I would just want to keep them quiet. I got a lot of victory points here. If I can keep them shut up, I can win. Right? Eventually, they will be able to attack, though. And I think I attacked here, one of these two. I think in 41. I think that's when I launched my attack. Because it was becoming clear that there was not going to be a war in Europe, that I couldn't start it, and the Germans were not in a position to really start it either. They were trying to play the friendly Hitler. And friendly Tojo, well, I was devoting everything against Japan. And one reason I couldn't start the war here was I started shipping British fleets over, etc. And so I had a lot of power to project between the two countries. Now, the Brits didn't do much except help support for the most part. And I kind of screwed some naval stuff up. No big shock there. In terms of what ends up happening is you end up having units and they clog things up. So you have a battleship and it clogs up. You can't attack from... You're no longer in an adjacent area. You can't easily attack. Now, you can go two, so maybe I was thinking too much linearly. I wasn't, able to move through here. But I had so much force here, here, and here, just deployed, but I couldn't crack the East China Sea. And, it wasn't even a matter of, wow, there's sort of an attrition or anything. It was just, I kept bouncing off them. I kept losing the combat and not being able to take but only by one, so I could fall back. There was one attrition turn, but there's, a fair-sized Japanese fleet. You're not going to attrition them down. You've got to do more than that. And I couldn't figure out a way to get a good grip on them. What I was planning on doing was, once I got up to total war, blockading them with the subs and force them to try to do something about the subs then. The subs are fairly cheap, and they can force the Japanese Navy to kind of disperse and do things other than just defend their ports. So, yeah, they can fall back to the ports as they need to, but it might cause casualties. It might cause a little bit of a shift in the values. But yeah, I mean, I just felt blockaded here. I had so many fleets versus like one fleet here, but I can't bring them all to bear. Anyway, I'm feeling just as hopelessly incapable of like doing anything. I see one country that really wants to do, well, two countries that really want to do something. Russia really wants to hit Germany. Not so much anymore. It's beginning to look like, yeah, I'd rather let the Allies take the hit now, because Germany's a little weaker on that front. And the US really wants to hit Japan. If anything, I'm going slower than I did in my opposed play. I can't focus on the single country, so I make huge fucking mistakes that, aren't just strategic mistakes. Basically, I don't have the time to think because of the damn pulsing of the game. Pulsed games just fucking ruin me. And they're hard enough opposed. They're really hard to get a grip on when you're playing them solo. Anyway. It's not like I think the game's bad. I just think it may be the thinking involved in it is beyond what I'm capable of doing easily. Although opposed, it's easier, and playing just one country would be optimal, probably. All right. Although then coordinating one country is tough. But I got to tell you, playing the Allies with three countries and chits galore coming out of there, especially when the U.S. had a lot of chits in there with all their fucking offensives, I was overwhelmed. Like, I could not get any downtime to think, and that's painful.